I'm Michael Cohen. I'm Dallas elder law attorney and estate planning attorney, and I'm joined with my co-host, Don Crawford Jr., who's graciously agreed to be a co-host. We've been doing a radio show for 13 years. I'd always said I had a radio face, so I'm being very brave to be on an audio visual podcast, and I appreciate Don joining me as well. So we're going to continue our trend of what he would usually ask me questions throughout our radio show. So the same thing is going to continue here. Today's topic is going to be on Jimmy Buffett. Jimmy Buffett, um, is his estate wasting away in Margaritaville? Uh, Here, what's happened is just recently in July, the two co-trustees of his large estate. He had a $275 million estate. It's not just his songs. He had these hotels and restaurants, continuing to, the name, image, and likeness. There's a lot to his estate. But what happened? He named his wife and his financial advisor as co-trustees. Well, they're now suing each other. So the good news about Jimmy Buffett's estate was that he had his financial advisor is an independent trustee. So he wanted to make sure, quite frankly, that I guess he didn't feel comfortable with his wife being in charge of a $275 million estate, which is understandable. You often do need professional management. And why he named his wife, I'm not really sure. Maybe he should have named just the professional advisors to begin with. We don't know. Of course, a lot of times people have fees. And so here she sued him, the co-trustee. Her name was Jane. His name was Richard. So I guess we're having fun with Dick and Jane. The the she sued him because, oh, you didn't tell me everything. Oh, you hired an attorney to pressure me to not be a co-trustee. You didn't tell me about everything. And he's suing her. He said, look, and she's also said, hey, you charged $1.75 million last year as fees, and our investments didn't do so hot. So she's complaining about that. He's saying, well, the reason why your husband wanted an independent trustee is he didn't really trust you. And so
Right.
I'm trying to have you removed. So what was the lesson to be learned about the mistake that could be made by this celebrity estate planning? All right, so it's just what we just talked about. It's basically is there in the trust, how can you remove a trustee should be clarified, or who could be appointed as a new trustee. So a lot of times you could have either what's called either a trust advisor or a trust protector that you name. All right, I'll let you remove a trustee and under these circumstances. Or maybe it's the majority of the eligible beneficiaries. You dictate who could remove a trustee. Does it have to be unanimous? If we do remove them, who can we appoint as a new trustee? Does it have to be a bank? Could it be a CPA, an attorney, financial advisor, anybody we want, a family member? These are questions that we commonly ask when you do a trust. But Jimmy Buffett's trust, unfortunately, didn't have the method. So now they had to go to court, and now the dirty laundry is up before the whole public to see. And so the lesson to be learned is number one, always say if you want to have the ability to remove, especially when there's a co-trustee or any trustee for that matter, you should say it. How can you remove somebody? How can a new one be appointed? And then you have to say, who is it that you really trust? If he didn't really trust his wife, why did he name his wife? Maybe when you have a large estate like that in particular, maybe you do need professional assistance. Now, you could say that they could always delegate authority to others in their documents. I could delegate something else to somebody else to be a trustee. You could have these joint things, but there a lot of times the different financial institutions, if they're going to be a trustee or co-trustee, they want special language in their trust, and each one of them has their own language. So Schwab may be different than some Merrill Lynch or whatever, whoever the trustee may be. So you usually have, or Vanguard, you have to put, usually before we do a trust, we have to see what language they want to have less liability. So anyway, if it is a larger institution, even if it's not, if you have nobody, you could, if there's certainly if there's enough money, then because it has to have enough money for a bank to deal with. In this case, it's 275 millions, obviously a lot of.
A lot of
So,
money.
so you probably should have professional management. So I'm not even sure that the financial advisor was sophisticated enough, because maybe you should have some sort of a larger institution involved. But anyway, you should choose somebody that can handle it. And then finally, if you have co-trustees, you better make sure they try to get along.
Yeah.
So you
It's
had this was a long time. Of course, a lot of times you never know. This was a long time financial advisor for 30 years, CPA and financial advisor. And of course, his wife had been a long time wife, so he wanted to appease her, and he thought, if this other guy's did a good job for me, so I'll just have him involved. But perhaps those were not the correct decisions to make. And so the lesson to be learned is, if you're going to have a trust, how do you remove a trustee? Who can you appoint as a new trustee? Should be clarified in the trust. Who do you trust? Can they handle it? And should you even have co-trustees?
right. And that's the point you were making, or I was making parallels to Brian Wilson. We did a podcast a few programs ago, and that was similar. He had an alternate, at least he thought he had one. And he apparently didn't, if memory serves. And he thought he had everything covered. He thought with his success and all the money he had, I don't know how much money he had, but Jimmy Buffett, lots of money, and he thought he had every base covered. I think you were implying, and he didn't either. And I think the implication with Jimmy Buffett is that he too should have had an alternate, even though you didn't use the word alternate. Is it a different term?
Yeah, you could always have an alternate trustee. In his case, though, it just didn't say, since they were suing each other, how do you remove somebody?
Oh, I see.
And so, and just for those who hadn't listened to the podcast on Brian Wilson that we did a couple weeks ago, on Brian Wilson, he didn't have an alternate agent under his medical power of attorney. So his assets were taken care of, but he didn't, his wife predeceased him, and she was named the agent. He didn't name an alternate. As a result, guardianship, or conservatorship as it's called in California, kind of like when Britney Spears, remember, she couldn't handle the funds until she got freed. So somebody was in charge because she was not really able to handle. Same thing happened with Brian Wilson, because his wife was no longer, well, she was dealing with the assets on Britney Spears, whereas on Brian Wilson, it was just taking care of him. A little bit
Right.
different.
I think Britney's was her father, if memory.
Right, it was, and then she sued him, and it's a real mess.
It's not worth it by any means. But this is why you have people like Michael Cohen who ask these difficult questions, whether it's about frequent flyer miles, like we talked about last program, or Medicaid, whatever the issues are, he's going to ask them because he's trained to do it. And you want somebody seasoned and experienced like Michael. And he is my attorney, as I've said in the radio program, for a decade plus, and he should be yours as well. And to ensure that, you need to attend his next workshop, which is scheduled for August the 16th, which is a Saturday. It's in person, it's free, and it's live, of course. And Michael, tell them more about the workshop if you can.
Yeah, it's like you just said, it's a free estate planning and elder law workshop. You could ask questions about anything from wills and trust to Medicaid, long-term care Medicaid, veterans benefits. Sometimes people ask about tax issues. We never know what the questions are that people are going to ask. It could be about the big, beautiful bill. We never know what somebody's going to ask. So we ask people what they want to know, and we write down the questions. And then over the next 2 hours, at the free estate planning essentials workshop, we answer those questions. And then if you do go to that free estate planning essentials workshop, we also give you a free vision meeting. You learn something not only to answer your question, but the questions of others.
Right.
To attend that free estate planning essentials workshop, you just call 214-720-0102. That's 214-720-0102, or sign up online at dallaselderlawyer.com. That's dallaselderlawyer.com. And I think you're going to enjoy it. And we serve some different things to eat and drink. So, but that's, I used to say they got a free coffee mug, but those things from the radio station have become collector's items. I know that's what people said. That's what really people came for. But if in case you just want to get a free education, 2 free hours, just call that 214-720-0102 number.
You love promoting those radio station cups and mugs and that kind of thing. So you your system one more time, and I understand. So thank you, and thank you for all the free education. It's very helpful. And attend Michael's next workshop on August 16th. Dial 214-720-0102 or go to dallaselderlawyer.com to sign up. Our
Thank you,
Dallas
Don.
elder lawyer, Michael Cohen. I thank you, sir.
Thank you. I need to cloud thing. Stop the